Section 1. Listen carefully. Listen carefully. Greed doesn't destroy you in one day. It whispers. It tempts. It promises more. And before you realize it, you lose everything you already had. This is the story of a farmer who had enough. But enough was never enough for him. Section 2. The simple life in a quiet village surrounded by green fields and golden sunlight. There lived a farmer named Raghav. Raghav was not rich, but he was not poor either. He had a small piece of fertile land, 2 healthy oxen, a loving wife, and a little son who followed him everywhere every morning. He would wake up before sunrise. The birds would sing. The cool breeze would touch his face, and he would walk proudly toward his fields. His crops grew well. His family ate happily. The villagers respected him. Life was simple. Life was peaceful. But peace is dangerous for a greedy heart. Section 3. The seed of greed. One day, a wealthy merchant passed through the village. He wore expensive clothes. He rode a beautiful horse. Gold rings sparkled on his fingers. The villagers gathered around him in awe. Raghav watched silently. That night, he couldn't sleep. Why is he so rich, he thought. Why do I only have this small land? I work hard too. I deserve more. That was the night the seed of greed was planted. And once greed enters your heart, it doesn't leave easily. Section 4. The offer. A few days later, the merchant returned. He made an announcement. I am selling large pieces of land at a very cheap price. Anyone who buys now will become wealthy in a few years. The villagers hesitated, but Raghav felt something burning inside him. This was his chance. Without thinking deeply, he sold half of his small land and borrowed money to buy a bigger piece from the merchant. His wife warned him gently, Raghav, we are happy. Why risk everything? But Raghav replied angrily, you don't understand. This is our opportunity to become rich. Greed had now become louder than wisdom. Section 5. The struggle. The new land was far away. It was larger, yes, but it needed more water, more labor, more money. Raghav began waking earlier, sleeping later, eating less. He stopped smiling. He stopped talking to his son. He stopped enjoying the sunrise. All he could think about was more crops, more profit, more land. But something unexpected happened. That year, the rains were weak. The crops did not grow well. Debt began to rise. Stress began to grow. And peace completely disappeared. Section 6. The warning. One evening, an old wise man from the village visited Raghav. He said softly, son, land doesn't make a man rich. Contentment does. But Raghav snapped. Contentment is for people who are afraid to dream big. The old man smiled sadly and left. Sometimes, we reject the advice that could save us. Section 7. The final temptation. Months later, the same merchant returned again. This time, he made an even bigger offer. There is a special deal. You can own as much land as you can walk around in one day, from sunrise to sunset. The only condition is, you must return to the starting point before sunset. Raghav's eyes lit up. This is it, he thought. I can own everything. The villagers hesitated, but greed had blinded him. He agreed. Section 8. The run. The next morning, before sunrise, Raghav stood at the starting point. The merchant smiled. The sun began to rise, and Raghav started walking. At first, he walked calmly, but soon he thought, I should go a little further, then even further. The land looked endless. By afternoon, he was exhausted, but he refused to stop. If I stop now, I'll lose more land. The sun slowly began to set. Panic filled his heart. He realized he was far away from the starting point, very far. So he began running. His breath became heavy. His legs trembled. His chest burned. But he kept running. For land. For more. For greed. Section 9. The Yandi. As the sun touched the horizon, Raghav saw the starting point. Just a little more. Just a few more steps. He pushed himself harder. And just before sunset, he reached the spot. But in that exact moment, he collapsed. The villagers rushed toward him. But it was too late. His heart had stopped. The merchant looked at the villagers and said quietly, all he needed was 6 feet of land. That was the only land he truly owned in the end. Section 10. The real lesson. Greed promises happiness, but it delivers exhaustion. It promises wealth, but it steals peace. Raghav had a loving family, enough food, respect, a peaceful life, but he sacrificed all of it for more. And in chasing everything, he lost everything. The greedy farmer. Part 2, The Real Wealth, Section 1. After the funeral. The day after Raghav's funeral, the village felt silent. The same fields that once echoed with his strong footsteps now stood still. His wife, Meera, sat outside their small house holding their son close. Tears had dried, but pain remained. The villagers whispered, "Such a hard-working man, but greed ruined him." The land he ran for now belonged to no one, and the only land he truly received was the small patch where he was buried. 6 feet. That was the price of his greed. Section 2. The son's question that evening. Raghav's little son asked softly, "Mother, why did father run so much that day?" Meera looked at the sky for a long moment. Then she replied, "Because he thought more land would make us happier." The boy frowned. "But we were happy before." Those words hit Meera's heart. Yes, they were happy before. Sometimes children understand what adults forget. Section 3. The merchant returns. A week later, the wealthy merchant returned again. He came to collect debts. But this time, the villagers did not gather around him. They looked at him differently. The old wise man stepped forward and said, "You sold dreams to a man who already had a life." The merchant shrugged. "I offered opportunity. He chose greed. And he was right. Temptation exists, but choice is ours." Section 4. A different decision. Months passed. Meera worked on the remaining small land. It was not much, but it was enough. The villagers helped her. They shared tools. They shared seeds. They shared kindness. The old wise man often visited Raghav's son and told him stories. Stories about hard work, gratitude, wisdom, and balance. One day, the boy said, "When I grow up, I will be rich." The old man smiled gently. "What kind of rich?" The boy paused. Then he answered, "Rich in peace." That day, the old man knew. The lesson had been learned. Section 5. Years later. Years passed. The boy grew into a young man named Arav. Unlike his father, Arav worked with ambition, but also with understanding. He improved farming methods. He learned about better irrigation. He saved money patiently. He expanded the land slowly, step by step, not through greed, but through planning, not through rushing, but through discipline. People began to respect him, not because he owned the most land, but because he lived the most balanced life. Section 6. The true test. One summer, another wealthy trader arrived in the village. He offered quick profits in exchange for risky investments. Many villagers felt tempted. Arav listened carefully. He remembered his father. He remembered the run. He remembered the sunset. And he said calmly, "I will grow slowly. I will grow safely." Some laughed at him. But months later, the trader disappeared, taking people's money with him. Those who chased quick wealth lost everything. But Arav remained safe, because wisdom protects what greed destroys. Section 7. Visiting the grave. One evening, Arav stood beside his father's grave. The wind moved gently through the crops. He placed his hand on the soil and said, "Father, I understand now. You didn't lose because you were poor. You lost because you forgot when to stop." He closed his eyes and promised himself, "I will always know when enough is enough." Section 8. The real wealth. Years later, Arav became one of the most respected farmers in the region. Not the richest, but the most peaceful. His home was filled with laughter. His heart was filled with gratitude. His sleep was deep. His smile was real. And whenever someone asked him, "What is the secret to success?" he replied, "Ambition builds your future, but contentment protects your happiness." The Greedy Farmer. Part 3. The Merchant's Secret. Section 1. What if the story wasn't over? Listen carefully. Every greedy man is not born greedy. Sometimes, he was once a victim too. Years after Arav rebuilt his family's life, something unexpected happened. One winter morning, news spread through the village. The old merchant is back. But this time, he was not riding a beautiful horse. He was walking, alone, older, weaker, and strangely quieter. Section 2. A different man. The villagers gathered again, not with admiration, but with curiosity. The merchant's clothes were simple now. No gold rings. No proud smile. Arav stepped forward. "Why are you here?" The merchant looked at him carefully. "You look like Raghav. I am his son." For a moment, silence filled the air. The merchant lowered his eyes. "I came to see the land." Section 3. The confession. That evening, the merchant asked to speak privately with Arav. They sat near the same field where Raghav once ran desperately. The merchant began. Do you know why I sell land the way I do? Arav remained silent. The merchant continued. Because years ago, I lost everything chasing more. He explained that he once owned a large farm too. He expanded too quickly, borrowed too much, trusted the wrong partners. When drought came, he lost it all. Instead of learning contentment, he chose manipulation. If I couldn't be rich peacefully, I decided I would become rich cleverly. He built his business on other people's greed. Your father wasn't my first mistake. His voice trembled, and he wasn't my last. Section 4. The guilt that grew. The merchant admitted something surprising. After your father collapsed, I could not sleep for months. He tried to forget. He tried to justify it. He chose to run, he told himself. But deep inside, he knew he had designed the trap. Greed used greed. But guilt never leaves quietly. Over the years, his wealth increased. But so did his loneliness. His children stopped respecting him. His partners cheated him. And slowly, his empire crumbled, just like the life he once destroyed. Section 5. Karma returns. A powerful investor tricked him the same way he tricked others. Promised unlimited profit, guaranteed growth, easy wealth. The merchant invested everything and lost everything. In one day, he smiled sadly at Arif. Now I understand your father's last run. He paused. When you chase too much, you don't see the cliff ahead. Section 6. Arif's choice. Arif had every reason to be angry, every reason to blame him. But wisdom had grown in him. You cannot change what happened, Arif said calmly. But you can stop repeating it. The merchant looked up. Why are you not shouting at me? Arif replied. Because my father's mistake was greed. I will not add anger to it. That moment changed everything. Section 7. Redemption. Instead of selling land, the merchant began teaching villagers about financial planning. He warned them about risky deals. He shared his failures openly. For the first time in his life, he earned respect without manipulation. He never became rich again, but he became lighter. And sometimes, peace is greater than profit. Section